States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. With that, I'll make a motion to approve the September 23rd regular meeting minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The Select Board will meet on the following dates at 5 p.m. Monday, October 28th, Tuesday, November 12th, Monday, November 25th. Important date to remember, Tuesday, November 5th will be the general election at Plymouth Elementary School, and the polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Town offices will also be closed on November 11th in observance of Veterans Day. Any citizens wishing to be listed on the Select Board's agenda should notify Town Hall before noon, the Thursday before a scheduled meeting. All meetings will be held upstairs in Town Hall and by Zoom, and Zoom information can be found on the town's website. No comments from me. Let's get straight into Town Manager's report.
Thank you, Zach. A lot going on, very busy over the last few weeks where we haven't met in a period of time. But to start off, Plymouth Fire Rescue News on September 30th, 2024. Chief Morrison announced his retirement as of December 31st, 2024, after 34 years of dedicated and loyal service to the town. I want to thank Chief Morrison for his years of service. It has been a pleasure working with Chief on many important issues over the past 2 years. I will be convening with the Select Board tonight to discuss Chief Morrison's replacement. Union contract negotiations. We continue to work through union negotiation meetings with ASME Local 3380, the Police Department, and Plymouth Professional Firefighters reviewing the union proposals as presented. Department head meeting. The department heads met on Tuesday, October 1st. There were many agenda items to include the budget process and upcoming meetings with department heads on their proposed budgets. Rick Alpers from Primex attended the meeting and provided a training session on accident investigation from a workers' compensation and property casualty perspective. We also discussed department's vision and strategic planning for the remainder of 2024 and into 2025, and reviewed the Select Board strategic priorities. 25-26 department budget meetings. Department heads submitted their budgets and capital improvement program request on Wednesday, October 2nd. The finance director and I started meeting with individual department heads on October 3rd, running through October 11th. The process will then move to the Budget Committee and Select Board for review and comment. There is a tab on the town website under 2025-2026 budget timeline to keep residents informed of the budget process and timeline. Welfare report for September of 2024. Mary Ann received 47 calls, emails, or in-person visits regarding to assisting individuals with housing, rent, and other monthly expenses. Mary Ann continues to show great compassion while working through some very difficult cases. We are very fortunate to have someone as dedicated and dependable as Mary Ann as our welfare director. Peace Public Library, we now have a technology librarian. The library is now offering a number of library-led computer workshops and one-on-one technology support. On Tuesdays and Thursdays from 3 to 4 p.m., there is tech time with librarian Kim for anyone needing specialized assistance. Check out the websites for offerings or call Peace Public Library at 536-2616. I'll skip over the Loon Lake Road culvert update as we'll be having a public hearing on that. Island Street, a little bit of an update there for the project in summer of 2025. As New Hampshire DOT reviews the engineering study, it moves our increased funding for the Highland Street project to Governor and Council for approving. Kevin Russell from New Hampshire DOT suggested that we begin the process to review scope and fee for the next phases of development of Highland Street. The process is currently ongoing with HEB, our engineering firm. New Hampshire Department of Transportation Safety Concerns letter, Tenny Mountain Highway. I received the final letter from Bill Bolton with regards to the safety concerns with Tenny Mountain Highway. Bill worked with Hebron and Romney as co-signers of the letter. The letter was executed today and was sent out, I believe today, Ann?
That's correct.
And was sent out to everybody as outlined on the letter. New Hampshire Department of Safety, Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management provided notification to the town of Plymouth of award from Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, Public Assistance Grant Program in the amount of $59,940.36 for the December 22 storm damage that was sustained on town roads. We will hold a public hearing in November on how to expend these funds with recommendations coming from the Highway Department. Economic Development, per our conversation at the Select Board meeting on Monday, August 26. I've started to research the Economic Development Consulting. I am still awaiting proposals from William Neal Cannon and Stuart Arnett. I did speak with them this afternoon on the phone, and they're hoping to have something to us within the next month. They're just very busy. Local Foods of Plymouth Fall Festival. The Fall Festival was to be held on October 20th from 10 to 2 on Green Street in Plymouth. Unfortunately, the event was canceled due to lack of vendors signing up. Central New Hampshire Chamber of Commerce. I attended coffee with CNHCC on Tuesday, October 8th at the Enterprise Center. There was 20 organizations in attendance. It provided a great networking session, as well as learning more about the chamber and their members. Pirate Party update. So the Pirate Party occurred on Sunday, October 13th. We were very well prepared for the event. The event was much smaller than it has been in years past. There may have been 300 to 400 students that tried to congregate, of which they ended up on Mary Lyon front lawn. We had a 0% tolerance policy for minors in possession, drinking in public, and intoxication. We arrested 61 individuals for those events that were occurring. I will say we did not have to use the state police CERT team. We dispersed them at 2:45 on Sunday afternoon. They all went about their merry way, and that was the end of the event. They never made it onto a town street, sidewalk, or road, or any property. They were contained on Mary Lyon's front lawn. So I think, once again, a successful event for the coordinated efforts of Plymouth Police Department, Plymouth Fire Rescue, as well as our neighboring communities that came in to assist, but very well managed, very professionally done, and the turnout was great at the end. And then just Plymouth State University update, I'll be meeting with Jess Tutile on Monday, October 21st for our monthly meeting. We certainly will be debriefing and recapping the Pirate Party and the efforts of all that were involved during that meeting. And that concludes my report.
I have a question about the Pirate Party.
Sure.
Were there any organizers, as we've had in the past?
It didn't seem to be as organized or organized. They did not have a DJ set up. They did not have a location where they thought they were going to go. They started on Mary Lyon front lawn, tried to work over to student apartments, pushed them back across Merrill Street, kept them really between Merrill Street and Highland Street, and that's where they stayed. I think they had a plan that they were going to try to get down on the main street, but that was quashed rather quickly, and they were contained on Mary Lyon's front lawn.
Thank you.
I thought the university was, like dead set against having an event, and it turned out to be on Mary Lyon Hall, so wouldn't they have kind of dispersed that, or they just tried and it didn't happen, or?
Nope, they chose to allow it to occur on Mary Lyon's front lawn per the order of President Burks.
Right.
But I think the other good news is that, if you remember last year and the past 2 years, we've transported anywhere between 19 and 23 individuals for intoxication to Spear Hospital. This year we transported 2. I think that has a lot to say about the zero tolerance policy, is that if you quell it right from the start, and I know that many parents that were picking up their children questioned our right to do that or why we were doing that. And I clearly explained to them, if they were familiar with Weldy versus the Kingston Supreme Court case, where police officers from Kingston allowed 3 individuals in a car to proceed after confiscating alcohol in which they had been drinking, and all 3 juveniles were killed in a motor vehicle accident, and the town of Kingston was held responsible for that by lack of enforcement. And I said the town of Plymouth wasn't willing to take on that responsibility and risk of students walking around our streets intoxicated. So we only transported 2 to Grafton County House of Correction. Those were 2 for assault and disorderly conduct. And both of those were not Plymouth State University students.
So that big bus transported 2 people over to
Yeah.
Grafton County?
With 61 arrests, where did we just sort of arrest, give them citation, and then let them go, or
We
how
booked
did?
them at Plymouth PD. We had a booking room set up.
Oh, okay.
A
So we
holding
had like a
area.
holding area.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And then those that came to pick them up at the side door at Plymouth PD and signed a waiver for their release.
And that was at the UPD or at our police department?
Plymouth Police
Okay.
Department.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, 300 to 400 sounds a whole lot better than 3,000 to 4,000.
Exactly.
That's a pretty big win by all of us.
I believe it was, and it was a concentrated effort, and I thank the state police. They brought in their mobile command center. They also were utilizing their drone, which was flying at about 3,000 feet. But we saw all activity from Warren Street to Merrill Street. Everything that was going on was communicated and videoed out to the officers that were in that area.
That's great.
So, very happy with the outcome.
Yep.
Will we be invoicing PSU again this year as we've done in the past? for the
We'll
additional
meet with
hours?
them and have that conversation, but most of the arrests came from trying to get out onto Highland Street.
Okay.
But we'll be debriefing with them and going through that process. And they did bring in, I think, 12 additional officers that they paid to bring in.
From other schools.
Actually from Belknap County and the town of Guilford.
Good.
Excellent.
Sounds
Well,
great.
We were sort of monitoring it on Yik Yak, and all the talk was pirate party's over. This is it's been ruined. So we sat there thinking that was probably success, if that's what was the
Hopefully
general
we achieved our goal.
thought.
Well, we've
Yeah.
always got Halloween.
I mean, I suspect we've got a few years of this until it's fully removed from the culture. But
at least 4.
I would agree.
yeah, but this
we
is
can
great.
get it-
This is, I mean, cutting it by 90% or more. That's something. Great work, Scott. And I mean, commendations to everybody. The university for the work that they put in to really support us on making this a lower risk event. The police, the fire, the surrounding communities, the sheriff, everybody. It's an amazing list of folks you were able to get together, and obviously yourself. So thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
The one other thing I was going to ask about, we'll have an opportunity to see Chief Morrison at some point in
I'm
person.
sorry, what's that?
We'll have a chance to see Chief Morrison in person. Is he going to come in and?
He will come in. Yes.
Good. Good. And didn't want to miss a chance to speak to him. It's monumental, right? 34
Absolutely
years.
is.
I wouldn't want anybody to think we were just breezing over that. As a quick aside in the town manager's report, there will be time to talk more
He
about
knew we
that.
were discussing that tonight, and he knows we'll be going into non-public after, and I have some information from him.
Great. I mean, amazing service from Chief Morrison, so didn't want to skip it. All right, any other questions for Scott on the town manager's report before we move on?
Nope.
We are so close to 5:15.
Well, if we go by
Oh,
that clock,
jeez. Yeah, that clock is way off.
Yeah, that clock's something. I'm trusting the cell tower. We don't have anybody online tonight?
I don't
see
think so.
any.
I don't see anybody.
Yeah, it does say 3 participants. There might be 1 online.
I got 514.
Yeah, same.
Participants, 1. I would say that's PVTV.
BT, yeah.
Got a 1?
Yeah, it's a 1.
Oh, looks like a 3
Yeah,
from
it
here.
looks like a 3 from here.
Oh, it is a 3.
Is it?
Ted,
Oh.
it's time for you to check your prescription.
Jeez.
Well,
Oh, okay. Thank you, Joseph. Hey, it's 5:15. Let's do it. Plymouth Selectboard is holding a public hearing in accordance with RSA 31:95B for the acceptance of unanticipated funds from the state of New Hampshire for the American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, in the amount of $350,190. The purpose of this grant is to replace a culvert on Loon Lake Road for the purpose of improving the hydraulic capacity, geomorphic compatibility, and enhance aquatic organism passage by installing a new 16-foot by 6-foot precast concrete box culvert. Scott, do you want to give a little bit of context for this before we take comment?
This has been in the mitigation plan since 2005, 2006. And back in 2023, the planning department solicited a grant, and it became available for $51,893 with regards to looking at the design, the permitting, and the preparation of bid documents for construction. However, the constructions were not included in this award, and actually the cost of the project from start to finish is estimated at $402,083. So recently, Joseph was advised by the state Department of Environmental Services that another town had applied for these funds, but were not able to push through and move their project forward. So with this being said, the funds, DES called us with regards to the Loon Lake Road culvert and said, would you like these funds? And if you do, you need to fill out some paperwork. We'll take it in front of Governor's Council and we'll get it approved. Well, since that time, it was $337,000 to start. They added another $12,000 to the project. So in total, between the $51,893 and the $350, we have enough to move the project forward in the amount of $402,083. So with that being said, we need to accept these funds. And once we accept the funds, Mike Vignali, the engineer who was hired for this project, will start putting the plan together. And our hope is to go out to bid in January, and the construction would take place in the summer of 2025.
All right. Let's take some public comment if there is any.
Thank you. Joyce Weston, resident of Loon Lake Road. I've lived there for 20 years, and during that time, we've been flooded a number of times. The latest one was this spring when my wife Sally had an appointment at Midstate, and there was no way to get through. So fortunately, we ran into our good neighbor, Neil McIver, who suggested we go out through his logging roads to the railroad bed, which was particularly muddy. And then we got to Thompson Lane Road and had to drive out to Rumney Center to connect with 25 to come back. And we did make it to the medical appointment. But this has happened a number of times over the years. My concern is that the culvert, I think the culvert should definitely be done. It's way overdue. But without the DOT raising Fairgrounds Road, it may not really solve the problem of flooding in that area. So I'm wondering if you have any correspondence with DOT about the rest of the problem.
We have tried time and time again, and they refuse to raise the level of Fairgrounds Road at this point. So we know that New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services is pushing them through another grant to do something about raising the level at the end of Loon Lake Road and Fairgrounds Road, but we don't have any definite answer at this point.
Okay, thank you. It will be a help.
Any other public comments? Any online comments?
Yeah. Looks like there's
There is something in the
red
chat.
chat.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
All right, seeing nothing else, I will,
I'd like to, are we going to have any discussion about it?
I was going to bring it back to the board to discuss.
Okay.
Yep. So I'll close the public hearing at 5:20 PM.
I've seen the water all the way up to the end of my driveway, which is quite a ways. And I've seen the stop sign underwater on Fairgrounds Road intersection. And I think that road really needs to be raised about 4 feet, all the way from my end of my driveway out to Fairgrounds Road and over to the bridge that goes over Loon Brook in front of Cody's Field and up towards where David Bruce lives. And I think that would be what I call a safety concern for people that, I mean, I don't mind people going through my woodlot, but, I don't think it's right that they should have to. And I have one more thing that I think is very important. We don't have a proper street lighting at that intersection, and there have been numerous accidents where people have missed the turn and wound up upside down in Cody's Field or across the street in the field. You cannot see that intersection at night until you're right on top of it. And I think we just need to have a proper street light there that illuminates that intersection.
Anything else?
That should be included in the
We
engineering.
can talk to New Hampshire Electric Co-op about getting a street light out there.
Yeah.
They've
And when,
been pretty good about doing that work fairly quickly
Just
for us when
illuminate
we've
the
asked. Yeah.
intersection so that you can actually see the intersection.
we'll follow up on that piece, and then when the design phase comes in with Mike McNally, we can provide your comments to him with regards to, is there a way, excuse me, to raise the road from the bridge in both directions to grade off to Fairgrounds Road?
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else?
And I'll make a motion to accept the additional unanticipated funds in the amount of $350,190 at this public hearing under RSA 31:95B, with the understanding that the funds will be accepted for the purpose of utilizing these funds toward the Loon Lake Road Culvert Project, and further reaffirm Scott Whedon as town manager as the authorized signer for any and all necessary documents related to this grant as required by the state of New Hampshire. I'm not really sure why this, by having me approve the certificate of vote authorization as president.
Because you're gonna sign it.
Oh, okay. I guess that's why I'm gonna be there.
We didn't know who was gonna be here
Okay.
tonight, so we knew you'd be here.
Okay. By having me, Theodore Wisniewski, approve the certificate of vote of authorized as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Will do.
It's good to get money for infrastructure.
It's wonderful. That culvert has a hole in it, and the road is continually got a sinkhole in it. And you have to dodge that hole, and it's not wide enough for 2 cars to get by. So when my dump truck comes out, there's no room.
So with your dump truck, you could just fill the hole.
Yeah, but I'm not supposed to fix town roads.
I mean, you're a town employee.
There you go.
You can make him an honorary member of the highway department.
I'd have to ask the town manager about that.
I suspect Joe might have something to say about it. Speaking of Joe Fagnan, we have, well, I guess we don't have any documentation on it
Sorry, I haven't
necessarily.
yet.
No, that's okay. We're going to remove Joe as the Plymouth representation to the Transportation Advisory Committee to LRPC because of his retirement.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the removal of Joe as the representative to the Transportation Advisory Committee.
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then I've got in front of me the appointment for both, and I think we can handle these as, well, let's handle them separately. So I've got an appointment for Joseph Perez as permanent committee member for Plymouth Transportation Advisory Committee of the LRPC, effective immediately.
And I'll make a motion that we appoint Joseph as the as Plymouth Permanent Committee Member to the Transportation Advisory Committee.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I think Joseph will be great in this role. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? And last but not least, Steve St. Pierre here as alternate, which we didn't have an alternate previously, but I
We
think.
had two.
We did. Joseph was the alternate.
Oh,
and Joe
Joseph was the
primary.
alternate. So we're moving Joseph from alternate to primary, and
Correct,
this
yes.
introduces a different alternate. Okay, sounds great.
The second page has two of them there.
Oh,
Yeah, I
there's
just
two
saw the
pages.
other.
Didn't see that. All right, I'll make a motion that we appoint Steve St. Pierre as Plymouth's alternate committee member to the Transportation Advisory Committee.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so now we'll look at a purchase order.
Yes, you have a purchase order in front of you from the Highway Department for winter sand, totaling $36,000. Joe did receive two quotes, one from Ambrose Brothers Construction down here on Route 3, and Pike Industries. Pike came in at $17.25 per ton with delivery, and Ambrose came in at $18 per cubic yard, which is about 1.3 tons per cubic yard, so a little bit more, and their price was $18. But the nice thing about Ambrose is that we can go and pick up the fill for $14 per cubic yard. So if we have the time and availability to pick up the sand at the Ambrose pit down here on Route 3, we can do that. If not, there's a 75-cent difference. Joe likes the quality of the screen sand that comes out of the Ambrose pit for the use on our roads in the winter.
Actually, I think Ambrose is a better deal because they're selling it by the cubic yard.
Right, which is
And-
1.3 ton per cubic yard.
Yeah, so they're actually less expensive than Pike is.
Right.
And their pit is half in Plymouth.
Right,
So
So we
they're,
can go
they're
and
really
pick it
not
up.
far.
right.
And I personally buy a lot of product from them, and I'm very satisfied.
Did we actually pick up any last year on our?
We got our sand from Pike last year,
Oh, I see.
but making
I
a
think this
transition
is,
this year.
This Ambrose deal is really the one to get.
So that's who Joe would like to move forward with, is Ambrose, with the pit down on Route 3 in Plymouth and Bridgewater.
All right, I'll make a motion that we accept the purchase order for Ambrose Brothers Winter Sand Services for $36,000.
Second,
Any discussion? Do we know why the price went up so much this year?
cost of equipment and fuel, but mainly the equipment is outrageously expensive. A new 980 cat loader cost $1 million. Just the loader. And they have a lot of brand-new equipment. They've got one of the finest screens I've seen. It's a massive trommel screen that can make 3 products at once. And the quality of their material is the best in the area. I've been doing business with them for 45 years. Do you want this?
My other question was, do we know why we're projecting so much more sand usage this year?
Yeah.
Because last year we used 1,118 tons. This year, we're projecting a use of 2,000 cubic yards, which would be 2,600 tons.
I think, Zach, what he does is that's the budgeted amount that's allotted in his budget, so I think he puts in for that in
Okay.
the fear of worst-case scenario that he will use more.
Got it. So 36,000 is what we had budgeted in advance anyway, so this
That is
is just, okay.
I suspected it could be the worst-case scenario this year, because the National Weather Service long-term forecast is that we're gonna get more ice.
All right.
It's moved and
those in-
seconded.
Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Next up, we have a request from Martha Swats to waive the application fee on her new application to the planning board. We have a letter here from Martha, but it looks like we have her in person, so why don't you give us a little brief on this request?
Just looking for a waiver for another planning board application. The plan got delayed, and it's actually less impactful now. It was originally for 2 commercial sites on the bottom with 2 apartments on top. We've actually now decided to remove the apartments, so it's only going to be 2 commercial buildings. But delays in that, the planning board denied continuance without prejudice.
And the information I received from Joseph with regards to this to prepare for tonight is exactly what Martha just provided as comment. And Martha was directed from the planning board to come to the select board meeting tonight and ask for a waiver on the fees to submit a new site plan application. And her fees were paid in full for this first site plan application that was provided to the planning board.
I see on the site plan review notes from the planning board, number 5 says the changes proposed to the application appear to make the proposal substantially different than what was originally proposed. Does that mean whatever we're trying to reclaim from the fee, are we starting over in that? Do we have more work to do?
There is not more work to do from what I am told. Basically, the major change is, as Martha just provided, was removing the apartments from up above and just having 2 commercial units in the building.
Correct. The actual site plans are the same. We're just taking off the 2nd floor on both buildings. They will just now be 1 floor only.
Okay. Any questions for Martha from the board? Any additional discussion?
All right, I'll make a motion that we waive the application fees on the new application to the planning board.
Second.
Discussion. Sorry, I thought of another thing while we were waiting there. What is the application fee?
The application fees would typically be $500 for the site plan review fee and 10 cents per square foot of disturbed area and a $100 newspaper notice fee and a $10 per abutter fee notice.
So largely not much changes.
That is
Because the
correct.
square footage is still going to be disturbed.
You are correct from what Joseph has relayed to me, is that it's just removing the 2nd floor. The footprint is not going to change, at least from what I understand,
No.
of where the building was going to be placed.
Yeah, just trying to understand money-wise, it's a little over $1,000, something like that?
Roughly.
I don't know how many abutters you had out there, Martha.
I believe, and forgive me, it was all kind of included in the fee for Hess Engineering. So I believe it was more like $3,500 was the application fee.
Oh, okay. I was doing the square footage of the building, but it's disturbed, so it's probably the whole land lot.
Yes.
That's my understanding.
So we're talking $3,000-ish.
I was told 3,000 to 5,000 initially when it was all being put together.
Okay, thank you. Motion seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank
It's
you.
waived. You're welcome.
Have a good night. Thank you.
All right, we have a donation check here. Let me read this letter into the record and for our friends on YouTube. This letter's from Jim Quinty of 107 Smith Bridge Road. Dear sirs and madams, we are just under 3 years from the 250th anniversary of a key battle of the Revolutionary War, the Battle of Bennington. Plymouth has a rare artifact of that pivotal battle, namely the cannon that sits in front of your hall. I've noticed that the gun carriage is in poor condition and likely needs a complete rebuild. This is an exceptional piece of Americana and that I feel deserves a display upgrade. Please view the cannon and carriage and take whatever steps you deem necessary to enhance the presentation of this valuable and historic asset of the town. Please accept my donation of $150 towards anything you decide would be appropriate toward this end. I was in the Millennium Bridge Dedication Parade and the Plymouth 250th with my 1934 Chevrolet ice truck. Maybe another cause to celebrate in Plymouth on August 16th, 2027.
So I'll make a motion to accept the donation in the amount of $150 for repairs and preservation of the cannon in front of Town Hall.
I'll second.
Discussion. What needs to be done to the
Yeah,
cannon?
right.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't that long ago that Stan Grayton did a reconstruction project on
Like
it.
5 years ago or something?
It is in really rough shape right now.
It is.
And Jesse has reached out to Stan Grayton to seek a quote to rehabilitate it and bring it back. But I don't think as of Friday, Jesse had heard back from Stanley Grayton yet. So we are pursuing what it would cost to rehabilitate that and recondition it.
Well, I think he's the right person to have because he's worked on it before and he has a good reputation.
So as soon as we have more information, we will pass it along.
And this, accepting this check doesn't give us any time period in which we have to actually take motion on that, so we have time.
Do we have the appropriate vehicle to account for this somewhere?
It'll be its own escrow account tentatively, yeah.
Last time he did this, he said the cannon could actually be fired. And we kind of like neglected to do that. So I'm thinking it'd be nice to do that once it's rehabbed.
August 16th, 2027?
That'd be great.
What, touch it off?
What's that?
You talking about touching that cannon off?
Touching it right off, yep. He said the cannon was able to do that.
Wow.
Just a blank charge, right?
Just put a little black powder down there.
Varies is right
Put some
across the street.
newspaper in the end of it, so instead of a cannonball.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
I'm into it. 2027, here we come. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm sorry that that cannon needs so much work again.
You know, it sits out in the weather, and that's...
Maybe we ought to build a roof over it.
Well, that's part of the proposal.
Yeah, you
Either
do
that
wonder, right?
or reconstruct the wooden parts out of something that doesn't decay easily.
Because there's mushrooms growing out of the wood in that today.
Oh, well, that's fun. All right, we have a policy update in front of us, which looks pretty straightforward. It does have one typo. Missing the T in the word state.
Yep. Down below.
Good catch.
Scott, where does this policy change originate? What's the
So the helpers from Primex came and presented to us on accident investigation. This was something he pointed out as a weakness in our policy, and we didn't have the state law recognized in what has to be done with regards to 24 hours after the accident if somebody is treated in a medical facility overnight. That's where it came from.
Does it need the RSA, or does it really matter?
It just was part of the workers' compensation statute under RSA 281A.
The other item is reporting to the state of New Hampshire within 8 hours of an accident if someone was to pass away or get injured in the job enough to, so, doesn't matter day or night.
That's,
Within 8 hours.
We have the obligation to let the state know so that they can come in and help us.
wow.
To Bill's point, I do wonder if we want to get the RSA cited here just to, get away from any HIPAA concerns somebody might have about their medical condition being reported to an outside agency that isn't their employer.
Now, we can include RSA 281A.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small edit, but
What we can do is in accordance with New Hampshire state law, RSA 281. Is that okay?
yeah, I like that.
Okay.
You're gonna add that?
Yep. That all sounds good to me.
I'll make a motion that we accept the personnel policy update with revisions made here.
I'll
Much else?
second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? On to the signature file review. I was worried this was going to be thick, Ann, because it's been a bit. but,
Ooh, look at how thick that
doesn't
is.
look too bad.
All right, so what I have for you tonight is the 2024 exempt property listing for the board to review and approve. The process began with sending institutional exempt forms with reminder letters in January of '24. All entities filed paperwork timely. Properties that have leased areas were inspected to keep a true understanding of the portion of the properties that are eligible to receive the charitable and religious exemption. One applicant had a change in the use in their property, which was inspected and deemed to still qualify. And then there was a new applicant that did not provide all documentation requested and was thereafter denied by the selectmen. So the results are for these exemptions. No new property was acquired, built, or occupied as additional exempt properties. 5 properties will have prorated assessments based on the portion that is used. 1 property was removed from the exemption status as it is not included in the listing parcel per the applicant. And 2 properties were denied an exemption request due to non-compliance with the request for documentation. Pass that around for you to look at.
Calvary Christian School still have 1 student and thus on the exempt list?
I'm sorry, Zach.
Is the Calvary Christian Church out on Yetton Road, is that still got the 1 student kind of situation?
It does.
So they're actually physically operating there?
Yes, they are. Very sporadically,
How old is that
but
student?
enough to
Oh, like
meet
once a
the
month?
requirement.
Just enough to meet the requirement.
Do we know
And
how
Emily-
old that student is?
What's that?
How old that student is?
No idea.
Probably 25, something like that.
110.
Aren't we all students at heart?
Yes.
For our entire life.
I'm sorry.
Lifelong learners.
Can I get a copy of this?
It's public information, absolutely, yep.
because people are always interested in this, the total assessed value, total exempt assessed value is $74,875,456.
Most of that's probably PSU and town itself, right?
Well, Spear Memorial Hospital is a big chunk at 20, rounding up, 27 million. Trying to find Plymouth University on here. No. The town's properties aren't on here.
PSU properties on there, Zach?
PSU's not on here?
Are they, no, I'm asking, sorry.
No, they're not. Well, unless it's under something, so they're alphabetical, so I looked under Plymouth, I looked under State of New Hampshire, University of New Hampshire, I don't see them. No, Plymouth is not on here. I mean, Plymouth State University is not on here. Which must mean they're just exempt under a different
Code.
category. So that 78 million is not including our own,
Stuff.
or the university. Just for clarity. But definitely the hospital's the big one on this list. And, the number 2 big one would be, so yeah, Spear Memorial Hospital and then Spear Memorial at Boulder Point. So Boulder Point's 9 million and the hospital is 27, so that's,
Without Midstate.
That's state, isn't it?
no, it's, I don't think so. Mid-State's not explicitly listed. What about so the Calvary Baptist Church that I mentioned is 3.7 million. It's on the front page.
Wow.
I don't know what else they would show up as.
They did apply for exemption, right?
I'm sure they did. I don't think. Oh wait, I was missing them. I found them. So Mid-State is 4 different properties. So 0.5, 4.8, 6.5 million, somewhere in that range.
Surprisingly not bad.
No, I mean all things considered.
Where's the fourth property?
So Boulder Point Drive, 28 and 30 Main Street, 36 Main Street, and 742 Tenny Mountain Highway. So
Oh, there's 3.
Tenny Mountain Highway is the
Two on
little
Main Street.
antlers or whatever.
One's a parking area, Neil, I believe.
Up and
Parking
down.
area, and then the other one's
yeah.
the bank.
Up
Yep,
on Cool
or the old
Terrace.
bank.
Yeah, right. So they all sort
It's
of
not all one lot.
thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep. Any other questions while I'm holding the sheet?
Nope. We've tortured you enough.
Tortured me enough at flipping through spreadsheets.
The hospital does pay us.
Yeah, they have a pilot for it.
Yeah, they do. It's a great point. Yeah, they have a pilot agreement with us. The hospital, not Mid-State.
Well,
Did I
you're
sign
still
this?
under agreement with Mid-State for another year,
Okay.
I
based
know.
on the court case
That's
from
it.
years back.
So, never mind.
So they do pay something.
Who's that?
So I have a couple more, can I keep
Yeah,
going?
please go.
All right. So downtown drainage project, we have received notice from the state that they are actually going to contribute towards the project and help the town. They're going to pay $37,500 for our portion of the project for paving from sidewalk to sidewalk or white line to white line. Scott has entered into an agreement with them on September 24th. However, they are asking for me to acknowledge that the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Plymouth voted to enter into an MOU with New Hampshire Department of Transportation for Main Street project. The town further authorized Town Manager Scott Whedon to execute any documents which may be necessary to put this MOU in place. So I just need a motion.
Is
For that.
Wednesday?
No, this is a motion to, the state will reimburse the town $37,500
Oh.
towards the towards pavement that was put down
Oh,
on the Main Street, on the town's portion of the Main Street project.
Usually the town manager has the authority to sign these type of documents, but the state was unable to answer that when we questioned them. So it's just easier to bring it to the board and ask for your approval to have him sign it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between Plymouth and the state DOT to pay us $37,500
$500. And Scott to sign.
and Scott to sign any and all necessary documentation herein.
I'll second.
Discussion. Does this have any effect on the original grant match? You know, I know that a lot of that was a grant-funded project. There's some strict requirements around how we fund it that we're all.
We ran this by the auditor just to make sure that there was no concerns, and he did not have any concerns. He indicated it could be just a revenue towards that project from the town side, so we are
Perfect.
good to go.
All right, great. Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
The other item that I have here for the board to sign, this is to notify, I guess, the town that on, let's see, to the town of Plymouth in the county of Grafton, New Hampshire, notified to meet at the Plymouth Elementary School, 43 Old War Bridge Road from 8 to 7. I believe this is your upcoming election, but that date is not on here, so,
Doesn't say November 5th anywhere on there.
no,
I think it's November 5th.
I think
Yeah.
so.
I feel-
Okay.
I feel
so
pretty
she'll
confident.
fill it in, yeah. So just an approval to sign that, please. Sure, we don't need a motion,
Just sign it.
yep, unless you want to change the date.
Oh,
We'd struggle to change the
know.
date of the national election.
so is there
Slightly outside of our authority.
this sign here?
It's just a notice to the town, but
Just sign above my name.
You're not doing it on the left?
I don't know, it says sign here,
right.
and there's only one space, so
Do what we're told.
I agree. That's a weird place to sign.
I wasn't sure.
That's okay. We'll get you all in there.
Sure, you don't want the other three of us to sign on the lines?
Yeah, right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, you
I'm
can.
gonna.
Well, Mary Ann will take up two of them.
There you go.
Yeah.
She could probably take up 3, actually, but.
Oh, we don't have to sign?
No, you do. Just under me, over on the lines.
Mary Ann's wondering where to scroll.
That's because we gave her crap for taking
Saving
up
this up for a few weeks.
That's what happens.
That's all I had.
That's it. All right. On to committee reports. Plymouth Village Water and Sewer.
I have no update, or I don't have an update.
No update. Planning Board.
Yeah, I have a report. If I can get to it. October 3rd, we had public in attendance. There was a work session, very lengthy meeting, standing room only in the hall. Mark Sturgeon, a member of the board, resigned. We're going to do a site plan visit on October 17th for the application of Brandon Hiltz. That's October 17th at 5 PM. Everyone's invited if they want to go. On Beach Hill Road, just past the entrance to the solid waste facility on the left, is the entrance to the property that he has submitted his application to build a garage. He purchased the Avery Farm, which is 78 acres, and the land he wants to build on is behind the old fairgrounds. And the board is seeking another full member due to the opening by Mark Sturgeon's resignation. And we would like the select board to weigh in on what we should do. We have at least 2 members that are interested in that position who are currently alternates. I think the question is whether we should take one of our alternates and move them up, or whether we should seek someone from outside the board. Also, Mike Courier is interested in continuing on the CAP committee. The LRPC director is the new director. Her first name's Shanna, but I don't have her last name.
I think it's Sullivan.
Sullivan?
Yeah.
Shanna Sullivan. And Bill and John are still on the executive board, correct? Mm-hmm. And discussion regarding LRPC Brownfields project, and more discussion regarding zoning amendments proposed by the HOP program, the housing program. We got into discussion of the agriculture zone regarding building height and architectural review standards for the Tenny Mountain Overlay District, which is focused mainly on the ski area. Then the number of units of residential density discussion, and the village core at the Tenny Mountain Overlay District. And there was discussion of allowing up to 80 feet in height, over 25%, and then the outside of the village core, 40-foot height. I think 80 feet's the maximum that our fire truck can go. And so they don't want to go more than 40 feet because of interfering with view. Also, we had some input from one citizen, Dean Yetton, about traffic speed and volume on Route 3A. Then our discussion regarding storage units in the ag zone, height restriction proposals, and whether or not there should be special exceptions in the zoning. And more discussion about parking spaces, auto service stations in the village commercial zone are not to be permitted or permitted by special exception, and then changing the definition to exclude fuel, so that I think the board is leaning towards excluding fuel, having any more fuel stations on Main Street in the village commercial section, but possibly allowing by special exception auto repair. So, changes to commercial uses permitted in the ag zone will be primarily agricultural and residential, and what uses are incompatible. Special exception, there's so many different uses allowed in the ag zone today. So the planning board is, at the next meeting, is going to make some decisions on redrawing the ag zone map on Tenny Mountain Highway, and especially on the northeast side of the highway, and from approximately the Smith Bridge Road area up, I think up to the traffic circle, and also on Route 3A. There's already substantial development on Route 3A too. So that was, there was a lot of discussion. And we were there 3.5 hours. And also, we want to invite the Conservation Commission to our November 7th meeting. So that was the end of our meeting.
Is there more detail on Mark Sturgeon's resignation?
He said that it was getting to be a time conflict for him.
Oh, okay.
And we really appreciated his input at all our meetings, but he said it was just, the only reason he was resigning was so that he could have more time for other commitments that he has.
So the planning board is not going to recommend who they want to take that position? They want us to either look at the alternates or suggest someone?
They want to know what the select board thinks they should do.
Who are the alternates currently?
Like,
We had two that were specifically interested, Michael Bouchard, who's probably been there the longest, and Matt Yeton. And they're both qualified. So,
Is there a
If they're
reason?
both qualified and interested, why would we seek from the outside?
well, I guess that John Christ was concerned that the select board might have some objection to how they deal with this situation, as far as replacing a full member, because usually that's approved by the board, right?
I would say it's approved by the board with a recommendation from the planning board.
Well, then whatever the board says, I'll take it back.
It would be my suggestion that the planning board recommend somebody from their current alternates to become a full member.
Okay.
That would
That's
be
what
my
they wanna
feeling.
hear.
same here.
Yeah.
But we're not saying they have to, right? I mean,
No.
it's kind of up to,
Yeah,
and that, these folks
would-
haven't even
Yeah.
said they were. Did they?
Well, these two people expressed an interest
Okay.
in serving as full members. So, the planning board respects the select board and wants a little guidance there.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think generally, if you've got alternates that are participating heavily in a committee and are not causing a problem, and the board wants them to step up and they want to step up, that would be my preference. That's kind of the on-ramp.
Okay.
Unless I'm missing something.
I think so.
I hope you're able to understand my report. But the meeting just seemed to ramble. We had this room full of people and many, many speakers. and a lot of discussion.
Was there a particular topic that drew out that large crowd?
The Hills thing, the Hills
Zoning,
development, yeah.
zoning, rewriting the zoning ordinance, the ag zone,
Touching the ag zone
Yeah,
has always
just
been a
bringing
little
up
bit
the
hot.
ag zone.
A little hot button.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But their meetings generally go for 3 hours.
Well, this one seemed like a long one. I mean, I've been
don't know, how
in
do
meetings that
you-
went into the wee hours of the morning in the past.
Why would you want to be on such a board?
Well,
Well,
you're-
this just
you're
seems,
there.
you know,
we can-
can't
We could drag it out a couple of hours
this
here
is
this
true.
evening, if you'd like.
I've granted.
with
A
that.
lot of bullet items, you know. We just give each one of these 15 minutes.
Oh,
and
yes.
Just slow it down.
You know what, I'm going to talk about water and sewer.
No? Got any opinion?
I can talk to Joseph and pass that along as well, because I know he meets with John Christ
Yeah.
pretty much 2 or 3
Yeah,
times a
you
week.
know, we just don't want to do something without the select board knowing what's going on.
Sounds good. Okay, moving past that, Campus Community Council,
There's no report.
no report, and there won't be for a while.
Yep.
Plymouth School District.
That Plymouth Elementary School meeting on 10/7. I will highlight the high points. Principals report, they reported that their K through 8 enrollment is at 361. Apparently, this is a decrease of somewhere around 30-ish.
Wow.
They detailed some field trips. They're having a book fair that occurred over the weekend and is continuing today and tomorrow. They're having a family literacy night on October 22nd. They had a slideshow presenting reading assessments. I didn't have a copy of that, but long and short of it is doing very well, especially in math. They showed how as time went on, so people come in like kindergarten, first grade, second grade, they're below expectations, and what they showed is as they move along to grade 8, that the number of people that are below expectations is basically shrunk to almost nothing. So it's a measure of how well they're doing. They reported on fall teams. Plymouth hosted a running event, and they came in second out of 16. They're ramping up to do winter sports. They had 3 fire drills and 1 evacuation drill. And we'll be holding an off-site evacuation drill. When they do an off-site, it's basically to the high school. They have a parent-only night tomorrow on the 16th. Tomorrow is the 16th, right? Let's see what else. They had a policy discussion on Title I. This was the second reading, so it wasn't really detailed. They did talk about their capital improvement plan, updated the 10-year plan, some updates to doors. They were talking about using budget money that they already have so it wouldn't impact the fund balance. They talked about a locker room remodel that would be in the $500K plus range, but that's something that they have in their long-term plan, and they're talking about using money from their reserve fund balance to possibly mitigate that. They talked a little bit about an HVAC initiative, and that would be approximately $1 million or so, and a bathroom remodel that would be around the 600. But none of these things are current. They would wind up being on a warrant article or something like that. So that's Plymouth Elementary School. The high school met on 10/1 at 5 p.m. And they started out with a privilege of the floor. I will say that this was the most attended high school meeting I had ever seen. First privilege of the floor ran 18 minutes. And that was really about lighting of the fields, which we'll talk about a little bit later because there was a lot of people there to support it. They did have a student report. All their student elections are over, and they have all their positions filled. They talked about the new cell phone policy and how that's working out. That week, they had homecoming. That is long past. So the principal's report, which was fairly short. They talked about welcome week, open house, mock schedule for the parents, college mini fair for juniors and seniors. They talk about a 10-year accreditation. They had for a teacher in service day on the 8th. Well, I'm not sure what the date was for that.
This past Friday.
Okay. They were talking pretty quickly, so it's hard to scribble quickly. Fall play on the 18th or 19th. And November 19th would be a parent-teacher day. And they also reported out the cell phone policy has been fairly successful. And then the discussion items were talking about their restraint seclusion plan and an update that is basically covering by law. So that, I mean, the topic was, they have a policy and it was kind of instituted by some changes in the law. They talked about learning pathways, an honors path, a career path, and extended learning opportunities. And then the topic that took up most of the meeting, and that was the athletic lighting. So there are different variations on this proposal. One includes putting turf on the fields, and the other is for lighting for both of the major athletic fields. And that lighting would be somewhere
You
around
say both the major athletic fields. Which ones do you mean?
football field and that soccer field or
That's
whatever.
why I was
it is.
wondering if you meant the ball field or the soccer field. That's why I asked.
Don't they have a practice field too?
Yeah, but they don't hold events on that. And a lot of this is centered around the idea that some of their games, especially at this time of year, have to be canceled because they'd be playing in the dark, which
Yeah.
won't
I mean,
work.
the JV game is already, this time of year, is truncated. Instead of playing 40-minute JV halves, they play 20-minute halves because they just don't have enough sunlight.
And a lot of the problem is that they can't always get other schools here early enough to start the games. Additionally, there's only so much they can do to schedule games at other locations to accommodate the fact that we don't have any lighting. Apparently, I don't remember the exact number, but out of the number of fields that are in play for all of the schools, most of them, I think, I'm trying to remember the numbers, only 2 out of 10 don't have lighting. So the proposal is to put, $750,000 worth of lighting on these fields that they could turn on. I guess most of the thing is the installation, and the fixtures themselves. And some of the things that, they would have to address some of these costs would be some cost avoidance because, then no longer would they have to bus people to other locations to hold the games. So most of the, they also talked about tax impact for the various scenarios. They're talking about, using some of the reserve fund balance to, offset some of the expense. And they also talked a little bit about, the possibility of doing some advertising using those, what you'd see typically along the fences where local businesses can pay a fee and what have you. There was a meeting, there was a lot of conversation in the second privilege of the floor. Most of the people present did express, support for it. But there was one person who was in support of it, but brought up that they didn't want to put all the costs on the taxpayer. And he did a nice job of presenting that. I wouldn't really call it a dissenting point of view, but a concern about the taxes in general. So that's pretty much the whole report.
Was it just about lighting, or was turf somehow in the mix?
Turf was something about putting turf on in other fields, but that was not the main crux of the conversation.
It almost sounds like it's going to be a warrant article, that they will make sure it's a warrant article, so it can be voted on in that manner.
Yeah, that I believe that's what they did say.
Should they be talking to the Energy Commission as well from,
I don't know. That's a good point. Maybe.
Was Coach Lenahan in the meeting?
You could bring that
Should
up at
never
the
put
next
lights.
meeting.
I have a meeting with Ashley and Phil on Thursday with regards to energy audits for all the town buildings. I can mention this to them
Yeah,
as
that
well and
wouldn't be-
have them reach out to the school.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Any questions for Ted? Thanks, Ted. You're still up with Conservation Commission.
They are meeting tonight at 7 p.m. over at Pease
better get on
because we're here.
We'll get you over there.
No, I don't need to be.
it?
They are expecting me not to be present.
Capital improvement meets next week.
Next week on the 23rd and 24th, Ann and I will be meeting tomorrow or Thursday.
We're meeting tomorrow. The Budget Committee is meeting next week.
Right.
Joseph and Sue Wood are getting ready to set up meetings for the CIP.
Okay.
Because that comes
So
directly.
Budget Committee's next week, CIP's later.
We'll follow that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I bring that up because I'm out of town next week, so I know that's the initial Budget Committee meeting, but I'll be in San Antonio. What time are those meetings?
Next week,
Yeah,
12:30 on Wednesday
I was hoping they were
with the Budget Committee.
super early. I could have dialed in, but not at that time.
Do you want someone else to, do you have an alternate to that? I don't know if we did or not.
I don't currently have an alternate on Advisory Budget Committee.
What is that?
12:30
Wednesday.
next Wednesday.
Yeah, Wednesday and Thursday next week.
I don't even know if I can. Continue on, I'll look it up.
So that's both of those. I should be, if capital improvement falls, I'll be back for that, obviously.
Sorry?
I'm not in town next Wednesday.
Okay. Is there anybody else who wants to sit in on Budget Committee?
Bill?
I got something going on. Yeah, I would like to, but
Yeah, I might
got
be
a
able
problem.
to. I mean, just,
We'll be meeting upstairs here.
and that's noon.
12:30.
We'll send you the times and dates and everything, yeah.
I'll admit I would much rather be in a Budget Committee meeting than where I'm going. LRPC,
Our last executive committee meeting was Shanna's first meeting, and she explained where her background was and where her strengths are, and planning is going to be her strength, which was not the last, ED, which was good actually, because I know Joseph, I guess Scott, you as well, met with her. And I think Joseph is very confident in what she can, provide us. And also, and the commissioners' meeting's on the 23rd in Laconia someplace, to be determined. Oh, one thing that was kind of like disconcerting, but there was always ended executive committee meeting with a round table. Everyone offers up what is going on in their town. Shanna cut it out. Like, whoa, what? That's the only thing I really liked. But she's going to try to find solutions. Maybe like people can write what's happening in their town and give it to her, and she'll post it or send it around. But a lot of time is spent on the last half hour, 45 minutes, hour. So that's probably a good move on her part. That's pretty much it.
All right, Parks and Rec?
They haven't met for some while, not till probably later on. I do know that they have their regular Parks and Rec opportunities booklet online. I would encourage everybody to check it out. I believe that they have their ski and skate sale coming up in early November. I don't know the dates, but I'm sure that Lisa will provide the information for the next meeting.
Yes, and we've got the whole Veterans Day festivities coming up as well.
Right, that's the Monday, right?
Yep.
It was a Monday, Saturday in the email.
Yeah, it should be Monday the 11th.
Starting at 10?
Yes.
That sounds right. Parking Committee and Economic Development.
Anxiously waiting. The consultants.
Energy Commission.
Ashley, and we're going to be meeting with the town manager regarding energy audits. Thank you, Scott, for giving me that. But and Phil, actually, at the meeting, he was just like went on in a good way. At least the valuation of community power to electric cooperative. And I mean, he was so informative. He didn't quite tell us everything, so we're actually inviting representatives from Community Power one meeting, and then the next meeting we're going to have the electric co-op come in to describe, what's good about them, what's bad about them, how are they helping us. So look forward to that. And that's
Think
coming
they'll
up.
do a PowerPoint?
Is that a joke?
PowerPoint.
Commission is
Come
going to
in
be
and
a
have a
PowerPoint.
full display,
I imagine they probably will put together, something to go over it. Unfortunately, we don't televise that. Maybe Jean-Luc, you can do the Energy Commission too. There was a movement some time ago about like videotaping every town meeting, but it's only us and planning board,
yeah.
pretty much.
And the school meetings.
School
Okay,
meetings,
yeah,
yes.
True. All right.
So they're getting school boards now.
Yeah, both high school and elementary school.
Oh, that's great.
High school has been pretty regularly filmed, but the elementary school was not always.
Yeah,
It took a
that's true.
long time.
Yeah,
That's
it's
good.
it's a lot of evening commitment. Any other questions for Bill about Energy Commission? Skipping advisory budget, PSU negotiations.
There's nothing until
Till
spring, right,
spring?
Scott?
Spring.
Nothing right now.
Chamber of Commerce.
Let's see, met last Thursday. Just a quick ED update. They're up to at 160 members, which is great. And their pipeline is about 35 prospects in there, which is great as well. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, they've had their fourth coffee. I think you attended that, you were saying. That's their fourth one and their highest attended. So the next one is November 7th at the Inn on Golden Pond in Holderness. Let's see, business after hours is going to be at the Woodsville Guarantee Savings Bank. They are looking to partner with Explore Plymouth NH. Just a side note, Jamie and I have handed that off to Angie Miller of Plymouth Soapworks. So Angie and Maddie have been meeting to see if they can come up with some synergy on those groups, which is great. Chamber has been approached by the New Hampshire School of Mechanical Trades Hampton. And they want to partner up with the chamber. That's sort of all that they know about. It gets a little complicated and lots of questions. So there's just beginning to have that if they want to do some sort of partnership with that. Travel and tourism, I think that's January, typically January. Right now, they're still lagging behind in sponsorships. So they're gonna start ramping that up a lot quicker and requesting some help with from folks. Build a scarecrow contest they're having. There is called Scary Ski Crow. Sorry. Got some events for 2025 already set up, Heart of 603, and the annual meeting right now has been what's been set up so far. They set out an email looking for volunteers to help with all their activities, and that is about it.
Any questions for Mary Ann?
What is Sea Crow?
Say that again?
It's not Scarecrow, it's what?
Ski
Oh,
Crow.
Ski Crow, gotcha.
Perlac.
I zoomed in the last meeting, so of course I wasn't that attentive, but the $350 bills were sent out to all the towns. And I just want to say that we are encouraging additional members from primarily I guess Holderness is, shy 2 members. So we're not quite at full staff. And I also want to give a shout out to James Chesborough and OJ from Lincoln and Woodstock. And it's kind of neat that they stuck around. They're not really members per se, but they pay their dues. James Chesborough's been, testing water. He threw himself into this, and it's really great. So it's nice to have them coming on board. It'll be an act of the legislature to actually accept them, as part of the designated towns along the PEMI. So maybe we'll do that next year. And that's pretty much it, I guess.
Police and fire building.
Kevin will be setting up a meeting, I think the first week in November. We'll have the information back from the Turner Group with feasibility.
Great. And union negotiations.
We met here with both fire department and police department representatives. Met with the police department representatives on Monday, the September 30th at 8 o'clock, and on Friday, the 11th at 8:30 with the fire department. Both sessions were productive and attended by all parties, and I know that we have more upcoming sessions with them, and as well as I think we have some things to discuss in non-public today.
Okay, great. All right, that's it for committee reports. Public comments.
Public has only that I think that we as a town of Plymouth are well served by your professional actions at this meeting, and other than that, I have no.
We appreciate you, Frank.
Frank.
Motion to go into non-public in accordance to RSA 91-A:3, number 2A.
I could interrupt for a moment. There was comments via the chat. I'm just going to read it out loud for a moment. This is from Dan Marion. Some feedback. Locking down unmuting Zoom mics doesn't allow for seamless way to communicate to the select board. If it was being abused, I could see why it would be necessary. In my time here, I personally have not witnessed any abuse of participants unmuting. You may want to reconsider this policy. If you're unaware, since the latest zoning board meeting, I've enabled a setting on our Zoom meetings that does not allow participants to unmute themselves. I was under the impression that they could request to be unmuted. That does not seem to be the case based on Dan's comments. I could go back and look at it, see if I could do something better.
Okay. That seems fair.
All right.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, you need to re-motion.
I will re-motion that we enter non-public in accordance to RSA 91-A:3, 2A, personnel.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have to do roll call.
Roll call, yeah.
Neil, your vote.
Aye.
Mary Ann, your vote.
Aye.
Zach, aye. Bill,
Aye.
Ted.
Aye.